This is Business Morning. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimize Obi Iwagu. We're starting off with global oil market update. Prices edged lower this morning on concerns over an unexpected jump in U.S. oil inventories last week. But positive news on COVID-19 vaccines lifted investors' hopes for a recovery in fuel demand, capping losses. Brent crude futures slipped 13 cents to $48.71 a barrel, having gained 5 cents the previous day. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures dropped 15 cents to $45.45 after shedding 16 cents on Tuesday. The American Petroleum Institute said on Tuesday that U.S. oil, gasoline and distillate stocks rose sharply last week, with crude stocks jumping by 1.14 million barrels, contrary to analyst forecasts. Official weekly oil data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration is due later today. Britain began mass vaccination of people on Tuesday in a global drive that poses one of the biggest logistical challenges in peacetime history. Pfizer cleared another hurdle on Tuesday when the U.S. Food and Drug Administration released documents that raised no new red flags over the safety or efficacy of the vaccine it developed with Germany's BioNTech. The EIA said on Tuesday that U.S. crude oil production is expected to slide next year by 240,000 barrels per day to 11.10 million barrels per day, a smaller decline compared to a previous forecast for a slide of 290,000 barrels per day. In the meantime, back here, the federal government and the organized labor comprising the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have agreed on the reduction of the pump price of petrol by 5 naira. The decision for a review of petrol pump price constitutes a major part of the resolutions from the meeting between both parties, which held at the presidential villa last night. Meanwhile, there was no conclusion on the demand for a reversal of the electricity tariff, and the federal government says talks are ongoing with the distribution companies on the meters.
For the 6th time since the federal government announced a hike in the pump price of petrol and electricity tariff in November, members of the organized labor movement and the federal government team are meeting in this hall to continue the discussions on the demand of the workers' union. Both the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress had called for a reversal of the recent hike, threatening to embark on a nationwide strike and protest, reason why the government had to convene this meeting a month ago. At the last meeting, the federal government says it needed 1 week to make further consultations. At the opening of the rescheduled meeting, both parties expressed optimism about addressing the impasse.
I want also to ask all that will make this meeting as brief as possible, because during the period of consultation, I have the great opportunity to know that a lot of work have gone into the demands and the palliatives, and I can safely say that on the government side, a lot of goodies have been acquired for the Nigerian workers and the Nigerian people.
We are supposed to make some tremendous progress arising from the 2 meetings that have taken place. We have been well briefed, and I think items have been well articulated. My hope is that we should be able to make progress that will address this issue substantially, and also we should be able to plan ahead.
The meeting then enters into a closed-door session. When the meeting ended, both the labor unions and their federal government counterpart announced their resolution.
We have agreed that there will be a slide down on the present price of pump price of petrol, PMS, and that the price slide will get us a cut of about 5 naira per liter, and that this slide will take effect from next week, Monday, a week today.
Mutually, we have agreed that in the meantime, certainly the price have to go down, and we have mutually agreed that at least for now, it will have to go down with 5 naira. But importantly, is also to protect Nigerians from the volatility in the oil and gas market.
The reduction of pump price of petrol is only one of the demands of the organized labor movement, but the second demand, which has to do with the call to review the recent hike in electricity tariff, will have to wait till next year when the meeting will reconvene.
In another development, just yesterday, the House of Representatives asked the National Insurance Commission to suspend its planned mandatory deadline for the recapitalization deadline for insurance companies set for December the 31st. The submission was made through a motion sponsored by Benjamin Kalu, representing APC Abia, and 15 other members of the House. NICOM had earlier directed insurance and reinsurance companies to complete the first phase of 50% and 60% minimum paid-up share capital for a minimum of 6 months from January 2021 to reduce the impact of COVID-19 on the insurance subsector. Let's take a listen.
Mr. Speaker, the House recalls that in addition to the negative economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Nigerian economy was just announced to be officially in recession. This signifies that there will be significant slowdown in economic activities, and the liquidity position of both the government and businesses are seriously impacted, albeit negatively. Mr. Speaker, the House notes that in times as this, the best move by the government and by regulators is to push more liquidity into the economy in a bid to stimulate economic activities, encourage spending, and prevent job losses, as well as support the indigenous businesses in the country. This is pertinent because in addition to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the industry was also affected by the aftermath of the NSAS protests, in which several insured properties were affected, and to this effect, most of these insurance companies have tons of liabilities to settle in order to fulfill their obligations so as not to deny the rights of these affected insured persons. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the House notes that these are the types of fiscal, monetary, and regulatory approaches that are being adopted in most countries. Hence, it may not be suitable at this time for NICOM to even proceed with its planned phase recapitalization program because of the overall impact it may have on the already fragile, very fragile economy and the insurance sector. Mr. Speaker, the House is concerned that if NICOM is allowed to proceed with this program as planned, it could negatively affect the economy and slow down the recovery process. Therefore, the House resolves to mandate the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, to suspend the planned 31st December 2020 mandatory deadline for the first phase of 50% to 60% of the minimum paid-up share capital for insurance and reinsurance companies for a minimum of 6 months from January 2021 as to cushion the effect of COVID-19 and other unforeseen circumstances on the insurance industry as stated above.
Well, interestingly and happily so, I have the man in the eye of the storm, the Commissioner for Insurance and the CEO of National Insurance Commission, Mr. Sunday Thomas. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas, for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I was watching you from where I am here. I mean, watching your gesticulation when the member of the House of Reps was talking. Yes, you listened to that call by the House of Representatives for extension of the insurance capitalization. And then you will recall that even after the NSAS protests, operators themselves were asking you to consider their challenges by amending some of the requirements in the recapitalization exercise for the sector. Yes, December 31 is the deadline for the recapitalization. With this plea, are you going to back down?
No, thank you very much. I think it's not as much as an issue. First and foremost, I'm just hearing this now, and there are processes and procedures for communicating such directives. So the best I will do is to wait until I'm formally notified of the decision with respect to the resolution passed by the National Assembly.
Well, while you wait for this notice, like I said, During this NSAS protest, we saw the aftermath of it, the destruction, and of course there was this concern if there was going to be a lot of claims on the insurance companies, and they are concerned that they might probably not be able to even meet up with the claims considering the recapitalization that is on the way. And they had already voiced out their own concerns and says, please, NICOM, we want you to do something. We want you to extend this. So based on this, is it something you should be able to do?
No, I think this one has been variously discussed, and the issues that are involved, we have engaged the market, and for us, it's not as much as whether one wants to back down or not. I think what is important is the interest of the industry. What do we do to deepen our market? That's what the whole exercise is all about. So, but for now, with respect to that, we have to separate the issue of the deadline, the issue of the aftermath of NSAS. Let's separate them and put them in the right perspective. I believe that the entire recapitalization being mixed up with the issue of NSAS may not necessarily be an issue for consideration. But as far as your question is concerned, I would rather, now that there has been an intervention by an arm of government, I would rather wait and see until the processes and procedure for conveying the resolution of the Assembly is passed and to the National Insurance Commission.
Thank you. Now, the insurance sector, of course, seems to have been in a topsy-turvy state for years. And you had said that 2020 is the year to turn around the insurance sector. Perhaps that's the reason we've coming up with this recapitalization and, of course, all the policies and programs of NICOM. We have few weeks, of course, to the end of 2020. Can you give us an overview of the current state of the industry?
Yeah, we started the year on a very good note, believing that we have a great year ahead of us. Unfortunately, the unexpected happened. You will realize that most part of this country, there has been a lot of inactivity, and those initiatives that are lined up for realizing some of the goals could not be achieved. But notwithstanding, I must say that this year may not be totally as bad as it looks. This year, 2020, of course, if you look at the numbers, in spite of what we went through, the variance is not as massive as what it was. Of course, we haven't had the total figure, but from the interim numbers that we are getting, it may not be as bad. But I would say clearly, deepening the market was our goal. Of course, still our goal. We set out and we said we are changing. It's not just about regulation. It's also about developing the market. But some of the mechanism for developing the market was the reaching out to the states. Not much of this, we couldn't do much of this because of the restrictions in movement and the rest of that. But notwithstanding, in-house, we were developing some things that we believe will deepen the market. Just about a week ago or so, we were able to register 5 additional companies, 4 insurance companies, and 1 reinsurance company. The last reinsurance company that was registered in Nigeria or licensed in Nigeria was about 35 years ago. So we believe that we need additional operator in that area because the level of retention is on the downward trend, and we need to shore up this by licensing a local company. Of course, again, we see what is happening in the pensions arena. Right now, we're talking about over 11 trillion. The insurance sector is not playing. I would say it's not playing at all in this sector. And we ought to be leading in that. So, but I mean, out of the 4 companies, insurance companies that were registered, 3 of them are life companies that will be playing in the annuity market. Of course, we expect that the activity will also assist in deepening the market. Like you rightly pointed out, the issue of recapitalization was expected to strengthen the companies so that big ticket risk can be taken and retained largely within the market. But of course, we are still going on. Like I said, we will see the content of the resolution, then we see how to progress from there. Other than that, the issue of human capital development, we are pursuing this. Even this year, we are making an arrangement. We know the role of actuaries in risk assessment. This is one profession that is lacking in this part of the world. And we are determined to do that. And we are not just saying it. We are starting the first set of students that will be writing an exam that may assist, or that will assist easy qualification. It's going to start by March next year, but the process is starting now. And it's being bankrolled, it's being financed or funded by the National Insurance Commission. Apart from that, we also have assisted a couple of institutions to strengthen their insurance department. So that let us do what we call backward integration. Let's develop the human capital that will be necessary to assist to achieve the objective of the industry. These are some of the areas. In addition, we are engaging some institutions like the Shippers Council. We are also looking at the Nigerian Content and Monitoring Board. Some of the leakages that we have noticed, we are trying to see how best we can block them. Most importantly, awareness creation. We've started this. Of course, we have the restrictions also reduce the impact that we will have made in this area. But we will continue. We just roll our programs. We roll it over into the coming year and see how far we can go.
Right. Still in the light of some of the efforts you've put in out to support financial inclusion and, of course, increase insurance penetration. Recently, you granted conventional insurance companies a window to operate micro-insurance business. Am I correct?
That's quite right. Right.
Yeah. Now, we
all... You see, the issue of a window...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the issue of window, it's something we believe also will be additional. You see, we don't lack the demand. What is lacking is the supply of appropriate products. That is what we lack. And so we have noticed that people are concerned, the investors are concerned about the cost of establishing a microinsurance and the gestation period before profit start coming in. But let's start from the easy wins. And we believe that those who have cultivated the culture of insurance can open a window by which they can begin to transact microinsurance business. It will run parallel with those standalone microinsurance companies. And if we have that, gradually, for those that we have the window, they will get to a point where they will feel that the window is becoming too big for the house. So they will close it and have a house that is standing on its own. That's the whole idea. So, but let's start from the known. We have opened the window, and we believe that, and of course the window, they will establish a purpose department that is going to manage microinsurance business. And of course, we will monitor the headship of that department. The returns of the department will be totally separate from the other product lines. We believe that one is also going to fast track the whole process. Not only that, we also, of course, we have windows also for Takafu, but we are encouraging them to also see how they can migrate to standalone Takafu companies. Just last week, when those 4 companies were licensed, or 5 companies, we also licensed 2 additional Takafu companies to operate in Nigeria. So we want to cover every nooks and crannies of this country. Insurance should be the oxygen that all businesses should be breathing.
Mr. Thomas, just hold your thoughts there. We will, of course, continue this conversation. For now, we'll take a break. And the Insurance Commissioner is still with us after the break. Thank you for staying tuned, and thank you, Mr. Sunday Thomas, for sticking on there. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Now, I want to take you back to the issue of micro insurance. Yes, I mean, I have a concern here. We all know micro insurance is designed for low-income people in developed countries, unlike Nigeria, where unemployment, dollar rate has affected the standard of living, thereby making citizens to live below $1 per day. Meanwhile, the policy is designed to protect the low-income earners against unexpected events that could threaten their livelihood. But the truth is, 70% of Nigerians don't have a source of livelihood. An average Nigerian doesn't know the importance of insurance. Some are affected by poverty, and the little income they make is to feed their families. How will micro-insurance benefit these people, this category of people?
Yeah, thank you. I think there is a misconception here. When it comes to people saving for their future, it's in times like these that people need to set things apart for the future. What I mean is that these low-income people that you are talking about, they are way, of course, we are talking of, they are not too bothered about this foreign exchange matter. Most of them, what from end to end of their transactions are mainly local. Their earning capacity are derived from from their environment. If you look at the presence of insurance in this country, it's limited to few cities. We are saying that majority of the people have a right to also this financial instrument. But of course, you are talking about the poverty level. Within that, I don't know how much of you are associated with those down there, but this has not stopped people from making contributions. People have not. This has not stopped them from making what we call a susu in one of these collective instruments. So in the communities where you have people that you call those down the pyramid, they are still funding their activities. They would rather keep those ones and reduce their present way of life than not to have anything by the side. What we are saying that these savings that they are doing should be structured in a manner that those risks that are associated with their daily living can be taken care of. I mean, just imagine somebody who has, over the time, probably in times of plenty, was able to erect a building or able to put one or two things in place, or businesses. And if, in times like these, if anything happens to those businesses, what do you think will happen? Of course, certainly the person, that particular business will be taken out. And that is what we are trying to prevent, so that if the unexpected happens, he has a fallback position. And insurance is the fallback position for such. But I will tell you that, of course, it is our responsibility to educate and to let the people know the place of insurance in their daily living and for their future. And that is one of the things I said earlier, that we have lined up programs that is going to sensitize the market. It's not, I mean, they are not buying in. It's not because they don't have the resources. It's because they are yet to understand the benefit that that insurance has to offer them. And that is why we are here, to let them know these benefits that they can gain by buying into insurance.
Now, what is the maximum sum assured under the micro-insurance window?
Well, what we had before was about 2 million. So to tell you that that's, I mean, about 2 million is a huge sum to those down there that we categorize under the down the pyramid. But this is being reviewed. We're actually rejigging the entire micro-insurance guideline. And when we finish looking at the environment, this might have to, we may have to up it a little bit. But that is what it is for now.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about creating confidence in the system and, of course, increasing penetration in the sector. Now, there is this negative perception that it's difficult to receive claims from insurance companies. What is the Commission doing to change this perception?
Of course, well, of course, again, let me tell you, that's more of perception than reality. But perception is important. I tell you, if you ask 2 or 3 people on the street, and they tell you that, and you ask the next question, have you ever had any insurance before? The most likely answer is that no. So where did the experience come from? So people will tell you that it's difficult to get claims, but I know that insurance companies are paying claims. I will, however, not stay here and tell you that all the claims are being paid promptly. No, we have some little challenges there. There are some, and we are dealing with such. And that is why the law have a section and gives us the responsibility to set up a bureau, a complaints bureau. And through this, we have resolved a lot of issues, complaints that are made to the Commission. And I want to seize this opportunity to let Nigerians know where you have challenges with receiving your claims from any insurance company, you can write to the National Insurance Commission, or you will visit our website, nicom.gov.ng. You know, you file your claims. When you file your complaints about your claims, we will attend to it, and it's at no cost to you.
Now, okay. Now, still part of efforts to deepen the financial services industry in Nigeria, Access Bank and Coronation Insurance are collaborating to drive what they called bank assurance. What is the take of NICOM in this initiative, and will this boost financial inclusion and insurance penetration in the Nigerian market?
Thank you. I think about 2 or 3 years ago, we came up with bank assurance, a guideline. We recognized the fact that looking at the clientele base of the banking sector, leveraging the structure of their clients, that a partnership between the banking sector and the insurance sector can actually deepen the insurance, can deepen insurance penetration in Nigeria. And therefore, we in conjunction with Central Bank, we roll out bank assurance guideline. And since then, we have seen about 2 years of it. This is the 3rd year, I guess. This is about the 3rd year of the running of bank assurance. And we have seen the numbers coming down from there. So it's quite helpful. However, some of the challenges, having gone through the first 2 years of it, we are looking at the possible review of it, having learned from it, because this is the first time that we'll be going through that. We've gone through it for 2 years. We are looking at the policy now and trying to reshape it, taking the experience that we have gathered over the 2 years, taking the complaints that we have received, taking the challenges that are associated with the implementation. And of course, with that, just to enhance and improve the bank assurance transaction. So it's part of the mechanism for deepening the insurance market.
Yeah, so with bank assurance and the newly licensed insurance firms, it appears the Nigerian financial industry is going back to its days of universal banking. Are you concerned or not concerned about the financial strength and sustainability of these financial entities that are gradually striking relationships with your underwriting firms?
No, I think let's put it right. It can't go back to universal banking. The model of the bank assurance that we are developing is more of distribution than the totality of insurance transaction. The bank assurance is not opening a window for total underwriting of insurance business. It's only distribution channel, that as it may. Of course, we also believe that having the bank assurance in place, partnership between the banking sector and the insurance sector, of course, is going to enhance the clientele base of the insurance sector. That's just the only major reason in the partnership. So it's not going back to universal banking. There are roles, there are responsibility of both the bank and the insurance sector. And that is why there's an agreement between the Central Bank and the National Insurance Commission on how bank assurance will work. So it is a model that is mainly on distribution. It's not the totality of the management of insurance portfolio.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for that clarification. Now, NICOM and PENCOM also recently signed an MOU to revise the retiree life annuity guidelines. So what is likely to change in the provisions of the existing guidelines?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's important to us, especially in the insurance sector. Many years, some 3, 4, 5 years ago, life insurance used to be like 20% of the total portfolio of the insurance industry. But in the last 2, 3 years, it has grown up to 40%. So it's quite important to us. So the relationship between PENCOM and NICOM is to establish limits, roles, responsibilities of both institutions in terms of our regulatory oversight. We're working together very well. Of course, with respect to that, we're also looking at areas that might be overlap so that we avoid regulatory overlap. While also avoiding regulatory arbitrage. These are things that, as much as possible, the guideline is setting out. And of course, the implementation. We're working together from time to time. We have some standing committees that have been engaging each other. When we have issues with our regulated entities, we come together and find ways to resolve them. But of course, the issue of the Pension Reform Act has been quite helpful to the insurance sector. The group life, for example, is also coming up good by reason of government having made it part of a necessity or a requirement under the Pension Reform Act 2014. So it's quite important to us. And of course, both institutions, PENCOM and NICOM, we are working together in a very cordial manner.
Now, the AFCFTA will take off January 1. Where is the insurance sector in this?
Sorry, I didn't get you there.
The African Continental Free Trade Agreement is taking off January 1. Where is the insurance sector in this?
Yeah, it's a great development, and we are quite grateful to His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, for allowing Nigeria to subscribe to this great initiative. We believe that with the free trade area, movement of goods will be enhanced. Trade across nations will be enhanced. Of course, it's important to us because on the insurance sector, last year we started something that tends to harmonize insurance transactions along the West African English-speaking countries. Obviously, of course, in preparation for the after. It's key to us. Now we have Nigerian companies that are all along the English West African coast. You have the North African bloc, insurance regulatory bodies. You have the Eastern bloc, and you have the Southern bloc. The Western bloc is also made up of both the French and the English-speaking. The English-speaking seems to be behind, but we are catching up. WISA was created or established sometimes last year with the assistance of West African Monetary Institute, and the development is quite progressive. We are trying to harmonize, see how well we can harmonize our laws before we, first of all from the regulatory angle, and then see how this can be instituted. Of course, we are establishing insurance college so that we'll be able to deal with risk across that area. Then we can now go as a block and begin to engage these other blocks, the Eastern bloc, the Southern bloc, and the Northern blocks. I think that is the way to go, and that is what is on the table right now. But it's a very good thing for us in the insurance sector.
And a quick one before I let you go. Now, I understand that NICOM had said post-recapitalization insurers wouldn't be able to expand operations offshore. Wouldn't that stall the role of Nigerian insurance companies in the AFCFTA when it eventually comes into reality?
No. That cannot be exact. Of course, post-recapitalization, the capacity of the industry is expected to be bigger. So we will not just be efficient in managing the local risk. We will also bring in more from other jurisdictions. Of course, and with the free trade area initiative, we expect this one to enhance our access to businesses from other jurisdictions. Definitely, with bigger capacity, we will be able to retain more and also be able to bring in more businesses into the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunday Thomas. We appreciate your time, and thank you for clarifying some of these issues. And perhaps I would beg, maybe you'll try and see what you can do as regards this recapitalization. I'm just begging. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, Eddie, you're there. You listened to the insurance commissioner. Well, I don't know what to say, but tell me, how are the insurance stocks doing?
They're doing well, Jimmy. I mean, all through last week, week on week, that sector posted gains. On Monday, they posted gains, and yesterday, they posted gains again. And yesterday, we saw gains from Royal Express, Mutual Benefits, Lasaco, Cornerstone Assurance, and ICO Pension. So the insurance sector is actually doing really well, unlike other sectors that, the banking, the consumer goods, and the industrial goods, which all through last week, Monday and Tuesday, have posted declines. But the insurance sector, I mean, we could even take a look at that right now on the screen. On Monday, when we looked at this screen, it was the same way. Tuesday, it was the same way, and then today again is the same. So the insurance sector is doing really well, and I'm sure if this recapitalization deadline is extended, there'll be a positive reaction to that news. But then, unfortunately, the market declined yesterday, although marginally by 9 basis points, to 35,033.74, with the equity cap at 18.310 trillion naira. Activity level was a bit better, although volume declined by about 5% to 306.91 million units, worth 3.27 billion naira, traded in 4,500 deals. But let's talk to Charles Fakruga, the chief dealer at Citico Trust and Investment. Good morning, Mr. Fakruga. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning, Egidio. Please, sorry for correction. I'm no longer chief dealer in Citico.
Oh, sorry about that. We'll make that correction. The week began on a negative note, and yesterday those declines were sustained in the market. Do you think this will set the tone for the rest of the week?
Yes, well, as the market is dynamic, it's continuing buying and selling, news filtering to the market. We expect that today we are going to see it will continue. However, from what we are seeing, the market might likely close flat today and probably maybe close in the southward direction.
Well, lately, we've seen declines from the banking sector, the consumer goods, and industrial goods sector. What exactly is going on those counters? Why have they been posting declines?
Yes, if you look at the banks,
okay, I think we've lost Mr. Fakruga there, but I'm sure he was about to explain why we've been seeing declines from those counters. Yesterday, FCMB Group posted its earnings forecast for the first quarter of 2021, and it showed lower gross earnings, lower profit after tax, and lower profit before tax compared to what the company got or made in Q3 2020. So hopefully, if we get Mr. Fakruga back, he would also drill down on those numbers and tell us, what he will be expecting from that. Hello, Mr. Fakruga, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. So could we just talk about FCMB's earnings forecast for Q1 2021? What do you make of those numbers?
The earnings that came from FCMB, and they gave a projection that is lower than their Q3. It is not unexpected. The company is just trying to be very conservative. And at the same time, they are looking at the uncertainty in the economy. We're in recession, and we're not too sure whether we're going to go into recession by Q1 2021. So despite all the assurances from the government, so the company is just trying to be very conservative, at the same time prepare themselves for the worst. So that's why those numbers, that's why they're giving those kind of projections. However, it's also going to make them put more effort in ensuring that they don't go below that projections.
All right, Mr. Fakuga, thank you for your input on the program. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
We'll have to leave it there on the market review for now. And Jimmy, over to you.
Thank you, Eddie, but I don't want to believe that the Bears will take the win this week. Anyway, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we talk to Juliana, and then we get back to you. Okay, let's hear from Juliana. Good morning, Juliana. Good to see you. Let's start off by getting an update on the vaccine distribution and, of course, Brexit.
Good morning, Chimese. Well, yesterday obviously marked a really significant point in the turn and the fight against the pandemic. It's definitely something I'm sure our children and grandchildren will be learning about in history over the next few decades. Margaret Keenan became the first person in the world to get a Western world approved COVID-19 vaccine. And there were also thousands of others across 50 units in Britain that received the dosage, the first dosage, one of two. Most of them were people over the age of 90. Also, a lot of frontline NHS staff workers, and we'll see those 400 doses being given out over the next couple of weeks. Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, did, however, when he was speaking to lawmakers in the House of Commons yesterday afternoon, strike a pretty cautious note because, of course, we are still battling COVID. I believe yesterday there are over 600 deaths, about 12,000 positive COVID-19 cases. So, you know, the worst is still not over. We're still battling this, and it is going to take months and months and months, if not years, for every single person in the UK to get a COVID vaccine. I think for viewers, especially our viewers in Britain, one thing that was significant last night is the amount of health professionals and senior parliamentarians, as well as celebrities, you know, doing the rounds on media, you know, debunking some of this misinformation. There is so much fake news going around at the moment about the vaccine. People are scared for their lives. You know, some people do think, you know, they're going to be injecting some sort of death serum into their arms, and many people are bemoaning and saying that they won't do it. But if you think of how COVID-19 has completely shut the world down and gripped nations, crippled economies, spoiled homes, then of course taking the vaccine is the appropriate measure. You mentioned Brexit, massive day today. Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be flying out to Brussels anytime now to meet Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President. They are going to be having a dinner date, a Brexit dinner date, a do or die Brexit dinner date. It has come down to the wire. Yesterday, we got a bit of breaking news that controversial internal market bill was scrapped. There appears to be some sort of agreement now where there will be some sort of customs border down the middle of the Irish Sea. Unionists are not happy at all. Of course, Northern Ireland now, because there certainly won't be a border in the island of Ireland, they're not happy. They completely believe they've been thrown under the bus by Boris Johnson and Westminster because they are still going to have to be tied into some EU rules. But the fact that that internal market bill, you know, every country around the world, particularly Joe Biden with his Irish ancestry, President-elect saying he wasn't happy with it. The fact that Boris Johnson and the Conservative government have thrown that away does signal that potentially a deal could be done, you know, if not today, then certainly before the end of the week.
And how are the markets trading these developments?
Pretty good. I think, you know, this week, every European market is going to be focused on politics. That's all there is now. Of course, there is the second wave of COVID, renewed lockdowns, not just in Europe, but in South Korea, in California, and there are these tiered restrictions here. But the theme of the week is, of course, Brexit. The pound had slipped behind the dollar earlier in the week, but now that Boris Johnson has signalled that he wants a deal and there is going to be that date with Ursula von der Leyen today, the pound rose significantly against the dollar this morning. I believe it opened 0.4% higher. The FTSE 100 also 0.3% higher. It would have been much higher, but of course, a higher pound signals a smaller FTSE 100 rise. The FTSE 250, the domestic market is also 0.4% higher. So it'd be interesting to see how that rises at intraday once we get more commentary coming out of Europe, particularly from France. Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, they both seem to be at loggerheads. Angela Merkel, of course, she is a significant senior German politician, as is Ursula von der Leyen, and the French do believe that perhaps the Germans are being too soft on the British. It's all to play for, so we'll be waiting for an update later today.
Absolutely. Now, in another development, businesses say a global shipping crisis is causing freight costs to soar, and UK consumers may soon see price rises for imported goods. Are you tracking this development?
Well, I have been reading through some of these developments. This is obviously there was a backlog and a delay at ports, most namely Felixstowe and Southampton. This had already started at the beginning of the lockdown when everything had literally shut down. But now the issue is there is a bottleneck at these two key ports, and it isn't just COVID. It's got a lot to do with Brexit as well. Imports are now exceeding. A lot of people, a lot of companies are trying to stockpile, and that's led to massive delays and massive costs. There's one business owner that typically would pay $2,000 to ship a 40-foot container into one of these ports. He is now paying between $8,000 and $10,000, completely crippling his business, something that he cannot afford to pay. A lot of these logistics organisations that look after businesses that go through British ports have written to the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, asking for more assistance and an urgent assistance, because they say they're just not going to be able to sustain this amount of pay. Or, as you rightly spoke about, they're just going to have to increase the cost for the consumer. Not a great time, especially as we've been having these severe warnings about hours upon hours, even days of delays at Dover. But now that this is also going to be affecting other ports, is going to be cause for concern for the British government.
Well, Juliana, you'll be joining BC later in today for update from your side. Thank you. And back here, Eddie, what's happening at the debt and currency market?
But Jimmy, yesterday, the fixed income market, well, the bond and the OMO markets closed bearish yesterday as yields expanded at those two segments, while the Nigerian Treasury bills market closed flat. Choma Udu, a fixed income dealer at GT Bank, will be joining us now for more. Good morning, Choma. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning, Eddie. Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us what happened at the market yesterday? What was responsible for the increase in yields at the bond and OMO market?
Well, the market has seen a standoffish bias in the fixed income space, especially at the short end of the curve, due to the special bills that will be offered by the CBN. We still do not have any confirmation on the rates it will be offered at, but the market players, both retail and institutional players, are playing cautiously in the market. The market is mixed with mostly laggard offers despite over 500 billion liquidity in the market. So we've seen a lot of anticipation with regards to special OMO bills that will be offered to the CBN.
Well, the Nigerian Treasury bills market has been flat lately, and yesterday we know investors have turned their focus to the primary market auction of today. What are your expectations from that auction, and how will that shape trading for the rest of the week at the Nigerian Treasury bills market?
Okay, today's NTB auction, we have about 50 billion on offer across three tenors. We do not anticipate a lot of interest in that space because the players are still very cautious on what will happen in the coming days. We expect that rates will trend up a little. We don't expect any moderation of rates in that space.
All right, Choma, thank you for your input on the program. Do enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Choma Udu is a fixed income dealer at GT Bank. We'll just quickly look at these numbers before we go. At the bond market, we had just 4 deals yesterday worth 1.80 billion naira. The Nigerian Treasury bills market was flat. We had just 2 deals on that counter worth 400 million naira, while the OMO market was bullish. It was bearish yesterday with yields increasing. We had 4 deals worth 1.60 billion naira. Well, Chimi, that's the market review for today.
I'm looking forward to when you tell me that the yield at the Treasury bill market is up.
I don't think
For
that's happening
investors
anytime
who have
soon.
decided to invest there, I don't want to say I have interests there. I don't. I
But
don't.
Jimmy, I wouldn't want you to get your hopes up too much because I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Never say never.
True.
Never say never. All right. Thank you, Eddie. And that's a wrap on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimize Obi. You're welcome.